What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Central Valley Livin. I'm your host, Jose, and as you can see, I'm flying solo today. I just wanted to take this time out of this beautiful Friday morning to, address what I kind of hope to do with this podcast and why I'm doing it in the first place. My original concept behind doing this type of media was I wanted to write a book about myself and the people around me, friends, family, the people that live and grew up here in the Central Valley that do big things. They stay motivated. This is a very, not a poor place, but it is very rural. It is, it's growing, but over the years, it was more dirt and trees than houses for sure. And I got to watch the development of all that, which is great. It's a growing community, which is awesome. And the theory behind my book was going to be, who are you? What makes you tick? Who are you? That's a very strong question, and I got asked that one time by a good friend of mine, and it resonated in me, and I couldn't help but going back to that question and trying to evaluate, who are you? Who am I? Because it can go a lot deeper than people can, just read on the surface. And, I want to go into depth with people about, who are you, your ideas, philosophies, theories on life, and etc. And there's plenty of people around here that are willing to give that information and express themselves in a way that other people, might connect with, they might relate to, might disagree with, they might agree with. That's what it's all about. I want to know how people are, and why they are. So, the kind of people that live around here, there's plenty of people. There's all types of people like skateboarders, athletes, artists. I'm a massage therapist, so, I know a few that can contest to the benefits and, what it really is to be a massage therapist. On top of that, there's personal trainers that I know. I am a student. I am going back to college, almost done with the community college, and gonna move on from there, hopefully. There's musicians, mothers, fathers, grandfathers. There's all kinds of people that live here. There's, and there's a lot of different ideas on life that I've gathered through the years, because I like to have conversations with people about, how they feel about certain things. And it could be a silly topic, or it could be something that can go deeper. And, I would really like to have those deeper conversations recorded, and so I can go back and really think about what was said and evaluate from both sides, because I love debating. I love having a great conversation where it's not one-sided. Tell me what you feel about this kind of situation and why you feel this way. And, you don't have to persuade me, but I would love to hear why you feel this way. And I feel like that's what's missing nowadays, is nobody's really communicating with each other anymore. Everybody's text a message or a tweet or an Instagram post. It's no real thought. Some stuff does go deeper, and that's what I love about podcasts, is you can have a steady conversation with somebody, a steady stream of ideas, unfiltered and unregulated, and if you can dive into people's psyche and get to know why they think the way that they do, that's the only way to really grow and progress in this world, is taking in ideas, sharing your own, and evaluating both sides, and hopefully coming up with a better understanding of life and what it means to be a normal person this day and age, because the times are crazy, especially with podcasts, with digital media, social media. Everything's all over the place right now. A lot of people don't know how to handle it. I've watched it progress. I am a child of the 90s. I was born in 87. Before all this internet and everything was going on, we used to play video games on floppy disks, that were, just nowadays would just be like, that's just trash. So, it's grown so far, and I've watched it grown, and it's been amazing, and I'm loving it. I can't believe that, everybody and all this information is one click away, which is great, because that's what we need, and that's what is going to help with society and helping us grow and helping us express ourselves. But it can get lost in translation, and people are resorting down to a certain character size text, 200, 250 characters, whatever, and they're expected to express their entire feeling about something. It's impossible. We need to have more live debates. There's great stuff like TED Talks. There's great debates nowadays that you can watch on YouTube, and hopefully people are getting into those, and really listening to what experts say about certain topics. There's an endless supply of topics being brought up that are socially just big right now. We'll get into those as the podcast goes along. I want to talk to different people on different platforms, and it'll be a great experience for me to learn how to conversate with different types of people, and also listen to their way of thinking, their concepts, and maybe you can change my mind about something. Maybe you can see how I'm seeing it. I would love to see how you're seeing it, and then we can make some comparisons, and we can find some kind of middle ground and stay friends. That's the idea, is if I tell you my idea, you tell me your idea, we're not going to fight over it. We're going to have an argumentative debate about it, and we're going to settle this like adults without resorting to physical or any kind of violence, because there's no need for any of that kind of stuff. I'm not a pacifist, but I am also not in any way, shape, or form ready to start a fight. I've never been in a fight, which is great. I'm 31 years old. A lot of people my age can at least say they got into one fight in their life. I've never been in a fight. I've gotten close maybe a couple times, but I'm a reasonable person to where I don't feel like that's gonna happen anytime soon, and I really hope not, because no one needs that. It's completely unnecessary, like I said. But yeah, a little bit more about me. I grew up here in the Central Valley, born and raised. I'm a father of 2 children, beautiful daughters. I've been a skateboarder for the past 16 years. It's been a while. Like I said, I'm a massage therapist. I'm a college student. I exercise every day, basically, from weight training and skateboarding to stretching, and even relaxing and letting yourself recover is also a form of a great technique of exercising. And and this podcast is going to help me learn how to express myself in a more fashionable way and more productively. because I feel like I said, the only real way we can do that is through conversation, long form conversation. I don't want to talk to you through text message and we're going to try to figure out how we feel about something through an emoji or something like that. Like, we can have an hour conversation, and if you're not willing to take an hour out of your day to talk to somebody about a certain thing, then life's gonna get hard, because through relationships, with boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, siblings, anything, you're gonna have to talk to people. You're gonna have to learn how to communicate with each other, and I feel like that's one of the things that we're lacking is trying to learn how to do that. And that's why I went back to school to surround myself with people that are on the same path, if not willing to try. That's a great thing. And surrounding yourself with motivated people is awesome. Like I said, I'm 31 years old. I'm almost done with community college, about a year away. So that means I'm about 10 years behind the, what normal kids would go straight from high school into college. And, that felt like that wasn't my path. I joined the workforce. I got a job right away, full-time job, straight from high school. And I didn't leave for 10 years. I was there. I got little part-time side jobs. I actually went to massage school, Milan, when I was 19, finished when I was 20. So I did go back to school a little bit, but that I felt like trade schools was probably a better idea, because I didn't want to learn I didn't want to relearn what I just learned in high school and just do it all over again, when I could learn an actual trade and try to make some money off of it and have a skill once I left. So that's where I went with that. And then I had my first daughter when I was 21. So, life really hit me pretty fast. I chose to work full time. I had to have health insurance. I had to do my responsibilities as a father. I, had my own place, and, stuff happens. You learn, how to move from place to place after things went sour with her mom, and learned how to, survive off of what I had and not put myself into excess. One, because I didn't have the resources like I did before I had my daughter. And two, to be responsible, to make decisions based off of what I felt is better for my daughter, for my future. I never wanted to go to jail, even though, I did go to a drunk tank one night. And I got the sickest I've ever been, and I never want to experience that again. Other than that, I don't get into trouble. Even through skateboarding, I was never one to break into a place and skate it, or even open stairs in a business and stuff where I could possibly get kicked out or the cops could be called on me. I could get some kind of fine for, damaging private property or something. I would just stay away from that kind of stuff and stick it to the skate parks, or even to, honestly, just in front of my house, we would just set up rails, and, we had a nice little community of people that understood what we were doing, and kids around that actually started skateboarding too. So it was pretty fun. And we'll go into that with hopefully one of my, or a few of my skateboarding buddies from back in those days. And then, so, I like to talk to people. I like to listen to people. I like to be uplifted, and I like to be motivated, because if there's one thing that I learned through all of these, experiences that I had, that it's hard to be motivated these days. It's hard to find that motivation in yourself. And, one thing that I did was I stayed physically active. There was a time that I stopped skateboarding because you know what I mean? And it happens. People lose passions and then they come back to them. And in that time, I gained weight and I wasn't happy, so I started weightlifting and trying to get myself physically into a place that would mentally benefit me. So if you're working out, I feel you're working out good, it doesn't have to be super hard. It doesn't have to be right off the bat active, because there's no way, it's baby steps. But if you push yourself to learn something new every day, then I feel like you can go to sleep happy. It makes life a little bit easier when you learn something new every day. And the only way to do that is to go outside and, go talk to somebody, go try something. With skateboarding, it's endless. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to do. Even if you've done something a million times, you can do it and it still makes you feel like that first time that you did it. That's what was great about skateboarding with me. And the same is with weightlifting. There's a certain gratification that you get when you add on 5 more pounds, when you add on 10 more pounds to your last reps, and you're like, oh, I'm getting stronger. Oh, it's a motivating thing. And I feel like people are losing that these days, where they don't want to motivate. They don't know how to motivate themselves, and it's a really hard thing. Throughout this podcast, I'll definitely probably be doing these solo ones just to kind of give my insight onto how I feel about certain topics, whether they're current events or, things, just how I feel about from life and experiences, from working out to being a father, and just how I navigated this world so far, and I feel like I've done a decent job, and there's people that have obviously done way more than I have. There's people that have done way less. So, the idea is to not equate yourself with people, but to do your best off of what you have. And if you make a mistake, actually learn from it rather than do it again and or again and again and again, because we all know people, we have family members, we have friends that do things that we don't understand, and we try to talk to them and try to understand what they mean by what they say, and they're unable to express themselves in a way that makes sense. And that's when people get upset, is when you actually have to talk to them and they can't express themselves. And it's mostly not their fault. It might have been how they were raised, might have been, lack of, around here, there's definitely a lack of communication through the language barriers. There's a lot of, primarily speaking Spanish people, Lahu, Hmong, people that grew up speaking other languages and then learned when they were in their, early adolescence. So, it's a great diversity around here, and a lot of ways of thinking. So those people are great. And one thing that I learned is, through the years, parents haven't been really talking to their children in a way that is adult-like, you know what I mean? Where their parents will talk to them like they're their children, rather than asking them about adult situations, teaching them like what to do if this, what to do if if your girlfriend breaks up with you, your boyfriend breaks up with you. With sex is one of the craziest things that nobody talks about around here. That's booming in the Central Valley with teen pregnancy and stuff like that. And, I can't, say anything too crazy because, yes, I was 19 when, my daughter was conceived, and I was 20 when she was born. So, I guess I made it out of it technically, so, but no, it is a very important thing to talk to your children about it. But like, going back to this whole social media and this technology, is people are kind of depending on movies and social media to do the talking for them. Nowadays, if you find I'll say 7 to 10-year-old that doesn't know what sex is, that's they don't really have access to very much technology, or they're not in public schools. And really that's good and bad. You want them to know, you want them to be aware, but you also need to talk to them about what it does mean, because just because they're aware of the situation doesn't mean that you're off the hook and you don't have to bring it up or discuss it with them. Talking to the youth nowadays is an awesome thing. Maybe one of these days I'll have my daughter and my nephew on, and because they're funny characters. They're great. They have a lot of insight. And then if you really think about it, who's better who's more informed on the front lines than these young kids that they understand what modern day bullying is. They understand the power of social media and how it affects them mentally. As researchers, they pick people that are already in these situations when, let's go directly to the source and ask these kids, how they feel. Because one thing about having children, you learn that kids are smarter than you really think. They do know they know what they're saying, they just don't know how to say it yet. And that's, it's something that we all learn. And the faster they learn, the better. Because if we have younger kids that are able to articulate themselves a lot better, we'll hopefully have, a smarter generation, more kids that, less bullying, less fights, and just people that are able to handle themselves as they grow older, because there's no textbook on how to live life. There's only experiences, there's hand-me-down stories, there's conversations with your grandparents on how life used to be, your parents on how life used to be. I'm a generation where I have children that I can kind of see where it's going, and I want to know how they feel about this new wave of technology. There's a generation behind me, because technically I'm a millennial, but I was raised by Gen Xers, and so my mindset isn't really on the same way that maybe a 26-year-old would be, or 28-year-old. So I do believe in the old ways, and I do see the new ways. I do understand them. I understand why people have these kind of mindsets that they do, as far as like vaccinations and flat earth and questioning everything, and whether or not their kids should go outside, what to eat, diets, is it okay to eat meat, is it ethical, there's so many crazy questions and stuff right now that when I was growing up, we didn't have those kind of questions. Like we had what's to eat for dinner, what are we gonna do until then, and then what time do we have to go to sleep. There was no crazy dilemmas on pronouns and people abducting kids daily and doing these terrible things. As the populations grow, of course, more and more things are going to be crazier and crazier as we get along. So one thing that we can do is talk to each other and figure out ways that work for us as the people. Because, passing laws and doing all this other stuff has, benefits, and but it is a process. It's a very, very long process, but it is doable. Until then, one thing that these podcasts do is bring the people that are very much informed, like Jordan Peterson and, all these guys that are on the front lines talking about, all these dilemmas. And they can hear what both sides of their stories. They can hear, what the other side thinks, what he thinks, what they think. And, the idea is to take in all this information with an open mind and, take notes, have an open book. Like, take notes on what this guy says, take notes on what this person says, compare notes, and you're like, well, that made sense to me. This makes sense to me. There's no reason why we should pick teams and not have a middle ground. We should all be part of the same community. We should all be who we are, which is humans, and we are all part of the same living cycle. So we shouldn't be fighting the way that we are right now. And like I said, podcasts are doing one of the greatest jobs about doing that. And they're also, making things funny and informative and easy to swallow. It doesn't have to be a long form conversation. It doesn't have to be 3 hours. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. You can get a good conversation into an hour, and as long as nobody's fighting and it's just a conversation. Because when we fight, when we do all that, nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. I've learned that over the years, and you gotta learn when to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. That was something wrong that I said, and learn how to apologize. And that's one of the things that I've learned over the years on how to do, because it's very beneficial, and it helps. It helps to know that you're wrong and that someone can correct you, and you can digest that information without full bias. And that's something I want to continue to learn how to do, and hopefully help the world out with. I don't think of anything big out of this, but like I said, it's more of a personal documentary of my conversations with the people around me, the people that I know and love, and I love everyone. I have plenty of awesome friends. There's a lot of great people in this community, and I hope to speak with a lot of you guys. So if any of you guys would like to come on, have a little conversation with me, you got a topic that you think I might know about, or you would love to just you can inform me on, and let's talk about it. I'm all about it. It doesn't have to be my subject. You can bring a subject to me, and let's talk about it. I'm all about that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for listening. I enjoyed our little talk, and hopefully I'll be having more people on soon. I hope to be putting out something at least weekly, so look out for that. If you would like to be on, you know, my Instagram is at JGUZ808. You know, comment, DM me, comment on this YouTube post, and we'll figure it out, man. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for listening.